Good evening, everyone, and a very warm welcome to you all. First of all, I would like to really apologize because my camera isn't working. My name is Noshin Rahman Shimu, Director of Research and Content at BFLHA. I'll be hosting today's session. On behalf of Bangladesh Forum for Legal and Humanitarian Affairs, BFLHA, I'm delighted to welcome you to the Season 5, Episode 1 of BFLHA webinar series. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. We are, our topic today is international standards and the evolution of press freedom in Bangladesh. Today's discussion will examine whether current domestic frameworks, particularly the Cybersecurity Ordinance 2025, align with international human rights standards, including the three-part test of legality, legitimacy, and proportionality. We will also explore the legal and institutional barriers that continue to affect investigative journalism and editorial independence, drawing brief comparative insights from regional contexts such as Nepal and Sri Lanka. We are joined by Mr. Ziaur Rahman Chaudhuri, an award winning journalist and currently a staff correspondent at the Business Standard. His work spans human rights, law enforcement, politics, diplomacy, and corruption with a strong focus on investigative reporting. He is a recipient of BRAC Migration Media Award 2020, and his reporting has consistently highlighted issues of accountability, transparency, and justice in Bangladesh. We are grateful to have him with us today to share his insights and experiences on investigative journalism and press freedom. Thank you so much for joining with us today. Hello, sir. Would you like to say a few brief words to our audience before we begin?
Okay, in the time of, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can clearly hear you.
So, welcome you all to the webinar. So, in the transition of or in the time of a democratic transition of the country's politics and the post-uprising era. So, we are into the elections within only 2 weeks. So I think this is also a high time to talk about the investigative journalism and the press freedom. So without the press freedom and investigative journalism, I think no country can get a better shape of democracy and politics.
Thank you so much. Firstly, I want to know from your perspective as an investigative journalist, when you look at the current domestic laws like the Cybersecurity Ordinance 2025, do you think that it satisfied the three-part test of legality, legitimacy, and proportionality that is required under international human rights law?
I think the problem is not that whether it maintains the international standard or the national standard. The problem is we have seen over the years, the past years or the past regimes of uh, after the fall of the HM Ershad's military dictatorships era. So from 1991, so Bangladesh democratic aspiration and plight was started to take a shape. But till till then, if you look through the or go through the past, so journalists or journalism were never been free. So there was some gravity. So in some regimes, it was more free. It was hampered or pressured by the governments lessly, and in some cases, in some regimes, it was heavily. So the problem is, if you look to the cyber security ordinance, which was passed by the interim government in 2025 in the last year under the Yunus government. So the civil society advocates, champions, and the other human rights activists, and even the journalists, those who are vocal to the or speak to the power. So the problem is they have repealed some sections and some controversial paras or some controversial provisions, but still there is some ambiguity and there is some vague definition of the law of the cyber security ordinance in some portions, that if even if the government, any government, even if the interim government and the upcoming government who will take power after the 12th February's national election. So it always depends on the political will, that how how you will use or how you will you misuse the law or the act or the whatever it is called. So back then it was Cybersecurity Act, and then it was prior than it was Digital Security Act, and then prior that it was a another name in during the very first term of the Awami League regime. So every time it takes a different shape, it takes a new, it took a different name, and it went under some major changes or the repeal of some subsections or sections, but the scenario still remains the same, I think that. So whether the CSO maintains the international standard or not, so the the question can be answered only the elected government takes power, and then how they will exercise the cybersecurity ordinance. So then we can actually say so much about the standard or the how the law or ordinance has been uh, made by the interim government, and now the political elected government, how they will take shape of the ordinance.
Okay. After the repeal or reform of several restrictive laws, there was an expectation of greater media freedom, right? We look at it as a step forward. But what do you think that the shortcomings that still hinder investigative journalism and editorial independence today?
So if you talk, if I, in my view, if I start from my side, so I belong to the journalism, and from the, if you compare about the other neighboring countries with India, Nepal, or Sri Lanka, in some cases, so in some cases, under duraces or under so much pressure from the political governments and so much pressure from the authorities, so Bangladeshi journalists have produced uh, some of the finest investigative pieces or reports in Bangladesh. So the problem is, I think, sometime the problem originated from the own community. So it's like, so after the social media boom and YouTube, Facebook takes or they started taking, the social media started taking a new shape of our life. So most of the advertisement and the things are now going, most of the portion of the money going through the social media for advertisement. So if you talk about that, so the mainstream media or the legacy media, they are recurring losses in some projects, in some cases. So investigative journalism uh, mm, at first takes a huge time. So it's not a day-to-day reporting. So you can get a simple report on what is being what is happening across the country during the election campaign. Yeah. But if you look through the how the campaigning is being happened, how the parties are expending their money, and where the money is coming from, and is it legal, or are they crossing the limits set by the election commissions. So if you look through, or if you want to have a deep dive, then it will take time. And when investigative journalism takes time, then it will be costly actually. In case of day-to-day reporting, you can get a report in case, or for example, you can get it in the expense of taka 5,000. But an investigative piece is sometime, in some cases, it will be costlier, 100 times costlier than the day-to-day reporting. So the first things or obstacles we encounter from within our working experiences. So one thing is that we don't get much time, and the second thing is we don't. The media houses are shrinking budgets, and they are now facing the advertisement card, or you can say that the circulation of the newspapers are not rising, it's declining. And in the other case, the television's viewers, the ugly thing of the broadcasting journalism is the people don't watch television on television. So the thing is, the revenue is shrinking, and in the time of revenue shrinking, if you want to do investigative journalism, then it will be costlier and it will take time. So in my view, the obstacles starts from the within the working experiences, and then later it actually comes the outside pressures, like the authorities or the government, or like the any other entities under the government. So I think whenever in my experiences, for the at least for the past 7 to 8 years in my reporting, so in some cases the media outlets can't or don't publish any investigative reports against the corporate media, against the corporate companies. Like the example is, when any corporate company is giving you revenue or the advertisement over the for a year, it's nearly, for a single company it might be 1 to 2 crore. And when you try to investigate some of their irregularities, anomalies, or human rights violation, or anything you can say, or you can investigate, but at some point you will face some issues that the company is trying to negotiate your media outlet. And after all, so when it comes about the revenue, so the media outlets will think about that the corporate company may not allow us or serve us with the advertisement after the investigation is published, or after the investigation is broadcast. So the thing is, the corporate pressure, and the inside the lack of adequate time and adequate budget, and at the last point, when the investigation is so sensitive, when it's relevant to any state matters, or it's relevant to any big politician, or any big like the ministers, or the high profile ministers, or even from the opposition parties, then the real pressure come through actually. And I think in past Hasina's regime for around 50 and 15 and a half years, so we have went through so much pressure from the intelligence agencies and other government law enforcement agencies. So whenever a reporter was trying to do any report from the angle of, from the perspective of a victim's family, so they would try to stop it right away. They used to call the reporters to their offices. They used to mentally harassed, and in some cases the reporter were also uh, alarmed, or reporters are also heavily mm, heavily actually they used so much pressure that the reporter had no other choice to avoid the investigation, or to uh, get back from the investigations. So I think it's and also the self censorship in some cases. Even we propose any investigative pieces or any investigative reports, so the outlets, I have already worked for more than four uh, local media outlets, including two separate televisions and two newspapers. In some cases, they will stop the investigation from within the newsroom. It, it's the If you talk about or ask me the how the investigative reports are being killed in Bangladesh, so I will say that it's 50-50. The 50% is the self censorship. Media outlets deny or don't be interested in investigating serious matters or public interest matters, for in fear of reprisal from the government, and in fear of advertisement or revenue cut from the corporate companies. And in some cases, the likings or leanings to any political parties. And the rest 50% comes from the government entities, including the intelligence agencies or the ruling party. They try to muzzle the voice, they try to suppress any investigation that may anger or that may raise a question to the power.
Okay, so that's really interesting, and I think Press Freedom Index, ranking 149th in the position. Yet neighboring countries like Nepal, which ranked 90th, operating within a somewhat comparable socio-political context, perform significantly better. In your view, what specific institutional factors can Bangladesh realistically draw from Nepal's experience?
So I recently, in last year, I went to Colombo to join a journalism fellowship program offered by the US-based interview. So, and in last July, in last June, I was in London for joining the Chevening South Asia Journalism Fellowship program. So I have a close communication or a regular contact with some of the finest journalists inside the South Asia, from India to Pakistan to Sri Lanka to Maldives, and from the Afghanistan. So the problem is I think the problem remains the same in every countries in South Asia. So I know one of my friends who is working in Maldives. So whenever they tries to his media outlet tries to report anything against the newly elected their president Mizu. So he was outrightly detained by a security force from a protest actually. So Mizu was the Maldivians president. He was trying to impose a new law that you after the law is being passed or passed, so you can write anything critical or you can critique anything, any steps taken by the government or by the security detained by the security forces. So I think in whether it's Nepal, Bhutan, or India or Bangladesh, whenever you try to speak to the power, or whenever you try to speak to the government, whenever you raise any critical question that may challenge their legality to remain in power, so they are always will come after it.
Okay, that's a very important point you have made. Um, I'd like to draw another question, which is institutions like Bangladesh Press Council and the Media Reform Commissions are meant to protect press freedom, right? So, what structural or legal changes that you think would be necessary for them to function genuinely as independent buffers than extensions of state authority only?
No, actually, there is a press council and some other media development institutions you can call any related to the media like Press Institute of Bangladesh or anything. But one thing is the press council of Bangladesh or Bangladesh Press Council. So that doesn't function actually. So we have been told by our senior colleagues, or we have been heard that the press council can or could protect the journalist by law, but it's still I can say from my practical experiences, so it still remains in the actually in paper actually. So if really any government or any authorities to ensure press freedom or the safeguard safety and safeguard to keep safety and safeguard to the independent voice or the critical voice of journalism, then the government must have to energize or reactivate the press council. So if any entities, any institution, any person is perceived that any report is being made out of vendetta or out of personal clash or personal interest, like any EOLO journalism or inauthentic journalism is being done, if they perceive. So I think the government can mediate the claims and compliance by any citizen of the country against any media workers or against any reporters or journalists or any media entity. So they have to reactivate press council. So at first go to the press council, and press council may summon both the parties, that the engrave, if any of my reporters um, uh, is uh, reporting, I if I reported anything that may anger any people, then I also believe that he or she has the every right to defend the report, whether the report then the aggrieved person can go to the press council, and then press council mediate the issues, and they can ask the reporters for their authenticity, for their evidences, out of which the report was reported. And I think that also made a resort to the angry person who is either blaming or claiming that the report is false. So if then both the parties goes to the press council, and when the reporters do submit their evidences, and they clarify that is my position, and that is why and how I have reported it, and if you have any questions, or uh, you have any claims, then you can go further. So I think press council can mediate any sort of any kind of arbitration, or like anything, any claims or any complaints by any aggrieved person who thinks that the report is false, and who the report is biased. So I think press council, after going to the court, before going to the court, or any legal issues have been ensued, so the aggrieved person can go to the press council, and press council, if the press council is deactivated, and press council is uh, in favor of establish the true spirit of journalism, then I think I have no problem to go to the press council. So if even if the person is not convinced with the press council's act, then I think he or she, whoever is from the government, from the opposition party, or the corporate, they can then, after the and arbitration of the press council, then they can go to the court. And if they file any cases, I think then we can show, or the reporters or the media outlets can produce the submit the findings of the press council, that I have been through the procedure of the press councils, and I have submitted all the evidences, and that is the findings of the press council. Now you the court will decide. But um, in practice, till to the date, anyone can sue you, anyone can uh, go to court, and the police will come after you. Police will come to arrest you outrightly when a case is filed. So that's the problem, I think, that hinders the press freedom mostly. And that also in infiltrated a fear of a fear among the journalists, that anytime anyone can sue me, and after the case is filed or registered, any police from any entities or any police station, policeman can come, and then they can pick me up. So the culture of outrightly or blatant arrest, so that has to be changed.
Okay, so that is such a powerful way to put it. And uh, this actually brings me to my next question, uh, which is we increasingly hear about defamation, sedition, and cyber cases being filed against journalists. How can the judiciary realistically step in as a fourth line defender to prevent this kind of weaponization of litigation? What do you think?
uh, can you repeat the question, please?
Okay, I'm so sorry. I'm repeating the question. So, we increasingly hear about defamation, sedition, or cyber cases being filed against journalists. How can the judiciary realistically step in as a frontline defender to prevent this kind of weaponization of litigation?
No, I think I the subordinate courts, apart from the High Court or the Supreme Court, people are being uh, whenever any case is being filed in the past regime, we have experienced that mm, most of the judges don't go through the compliance, case compliance. So what was being done, written, what has written on the case statement, then on the pieces. So I think if the every judge, it not about it's not about when the case is against any journalist. So they have given the choice or the rights to be judicious, or to have a judicious mind. So if they can go through the complaint or the case statement, so how vague was the complaint, or how solid is the complaint against the journalist, so the judge or the judiciary has still the power to re-evaluate the case statement and give resort to the arrested, or the or the person named accused in the cases.
Okay. This question that I'm going to ask about is currently most discussed, I think, given that women currently represent less than 10% of media workforce in Bangladesh. What legal or corporate mandates are needed to ensure a safer or more inclusive environment for female journalists?
So I think I will not say that those things can be implemented in case of female journalists. So I think a journalist is a journalist, but obviously female journalist as a developing nation, as a third country nation, or from the global south, we have some challenges whenever a woman or female worker is in the job market. So I think the 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 media outlets, the government, so they have to come to a point that we will not interfere, or we will not uh, interfere in any steps of the investigative journalism or freedom of press or anything else. So you can raise any question, you can ask any question. So you, whether it's goes against you or goes against someone else. So if you can establish the political harmony, that any media outlet can write or criticize any steps of mine without fact and figures and verification, so I would not mind. So I think that will that political culture will only ensure any safety or security to any journalist. Not only, yes, in some cases when they are going to the female workers, they are going to some political rallies or some on ground reporting, so they are being criticized by some sectors. So that has to be also amended, or the culture has to be changed from within the political parties. That political party, whether it's ruling party or opposition party, they will have to come up with a solution, or come up with a agreement that okay, we will not judge whether it's male or female. We will ensure, we will welcome any kind of good journalism.
Okay, so one last question I would like to ask. That is, we are seeing a lot of backlog of cases involving physical threats or violence against media workers. So, what specific legal mechanisms are recommended to address this issue? What do you think?
I think, can you repeat me the question, please? Again?
Okay. So, what specific legal mechanisms are recommended to address the backlogs of cases involving physical threats or violence against media workers?
So actually, when there is rule of law, then I think no, it's not. It's not. It's not better to be selective, that the journalists are not getting justice. So when a normal citizen is not getting justice, then how a journalist can get justice from judiciary or from the judicial apparatus? So I think the rule of law has to be distorted fast. So if the rule of law or the path of rule of law is established and reigned, then I think the whether he or she is journalist or not, not a citizen or a private job holder or a politician. So rule of law has to be established fast.
That was really interesting, and that was such a valuable insight. So we will conclude our discussion here today. Thank you so much, Mohammad Ziaur Rahman Chaudhary Bhai, for sharing your valuable insights and experiences with us today. I will now give the floor to I guess we have no questions. So thank you so much, Mohammad Ziaur Rahman Chaudhary Bhai. And we are so grateful to everyone who has joined and contributed to the discussion. On behalf of BFLHA, thank you for being part of the webinar series. We appreciate your participation and look forward to seeing you on our upcoming sessions. Have a wonderful evening.
Okay.